In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear suspension leveling kit on this Ford F-150. This is part of the rear suspension located under the rear of your vehicle. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Now if you're working on the ground, you do not need to safely raise and support the rear differential. If you're working on a lift, obviously it will be raised, so we're going to have to apply support underneath this. When we do need to lift this up, we're going to be lifting by the frame to be able to separate the leaf spring from the rear differential area. Let's start disconnecting our rear shock from our rear differential tube bracket here. For this, you'll find that you have an 18mm mounting nut and a 15mm bolt head. Inspect your hardware, replace as necessary. Now we're going to start dislodging our two U-bolts with a 22mm socket. With both of those off, I'm just going to start one mounting nut back on, and we'll continue on to the other two. Now that we have all those off of there, we'll hold on to that lower mounting bracket. You can remove that, clean it up, quick inspection, we'll set it aside. After removing the lower bracket, you can remove each one of your U-bolts. Now, if you are working with the wheel still on the ground, you'd want to continue over to the frame and start safely raising that and watching this area separate. Since I'm up on a lift with my suspension hanging, I'm going to lower my support underneath the rear differential. Now we can make our way up in here. We'll take hold of these two pieces. You can remove those. Now for our kit, we're going to hold on to this upper metal piece here, and we'll dispose of this piece properly. We'll be replacing that with ours. Slide that right in there. Now we can get this in position on that differential in between the leaf spring and the differential. As you can tell, we're going to have to lower down the differential a little bit further here or raise up the frame depending on what we're doing. We need a bigger gap. That should want to slide right into the grooves on the differential tubing. And as we bring this down, we want to make sure that we have our two tabs making their way into the ports on this area. Now, as you can tell, as I'm going up, it's not really seated properly, so you can carefully make an adjustment. Just be extremely careful for any pinch points as you continue on. Let's start installing our new U-bolts. Those are going to go right up along the top of the leaf spring. You can see the grooves for each of them. We'll make sure those are clean. Before we install our lower mounting bracket, washers, and mounting nuts, we'll continue on with some red thread locker on the threaded portion of the U-bolts here. We don't need to apply thread locker for the majority of the threads, realistically only approximately where the mounting nuts will sit. So I'm going to go approximately halfway up the threaded area and we'll apply a thin amount here. Same thing on all others. With that applied, we can continue on with our mounting bracket. You can see the area where the differential tube has to sit through, so we'll make sure we bring this up into the proper positioning. I'm just going to pause at those first two. We'll start on a washer and then our mounting nut. Now we can do that rearward U-bolt, slide it through the bracket, start on the washer and the mounting nut for each. With all of them started, we're going to continue on by snugging them, but you need to be extremely cautious about doing this. If you were to only tighten the rear two or the forward two first and bring them all the way up to the fully tight position, the lower bracket's going to be off kilter and it's not going to be seated properly and it could loosen up on you while you're driving down the road. So we'll make sure that we snug everything up lightly Double check to make sure it's properly on there, and then we'll continue tightening in a crisscross manner. Before we continue tightening this, let's just take a quick peek up along the top, confirming we're still properly seated. Now, as we tighten these, we're paying attention to the threaded portion of each one of our U-bolts. You can see some of them have more thread than others. So we're going to continue tightening the ones that have less thread until everything's even, and we'll continue on tightening along the way. Now that we have these bottomed out, we're going to torque them in a specific sequence. We'll have to do this 4 times. We're doing it in a crisscross manner. The first time we'll torque it will be 26 foot-pounds. Second time around, we'll go 52 foot-pounds. Third time, 74. And the last time around, 98 foot-pounds. After doing all 4 passes, we'll continue on with reinstalling our rear shock. You can raise or lower things as necessary. For the rear shock, you can also compress it if necessary. We'll take that lower bolt and slide it through from the inside towards the outward area. Start on that mounting nut. We'll bottom this out, torque it to 66 foot-pounds. Let's remove our support. Okay, friend, we finished one side of our rear suspension leveling kit. Go over to the other side of the vehicle and repeat the exact same process. Once you've completed that, take your vehicle for a road test down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.